r/ask Reddit. What did your school waste money on that nobody liked? A 3D printer that the teachers won't learn how to use, so now nobody is allowed to use it. My school got 4 of those and the teacher responsible for them actually encouraged us to take the SolidWorks course to learn about 3D design. It was actually a lot of fun and I still have some of the objects I created. I thought my school was like royalty since we have 2 but 4. And yet, SolidWorks is actually really fun to do, especially when you get it right. Some of my classmates won a bunch of money for our school. Our school was one of the lowest funded schools in the district. The district took the money and spent it on another school. Hey, reminds me when I was a sophomore. My school was next in line to get renovations and upgrades. Open bracket. Only half classes even had air conditioning. Instead, the district built a new school that took half of my graduating class. They also took teachers, so my classes were still overcrowded. Yep, our school has about 2,000 people while it was built for like 1,200. None of our classes have air conditioning. To my knowledge, none of my classes do at least. And our school spent $15,000 on the new esports team, 1-hour arts program, show choir, marching band, theater, etc. Has been begging for funding for 15 years. Was on boys varsity soccer team in high school. New head coach, wanted to emphasize more analytical approach, and as such, had booster club buy a $10,000 goalpost camera. None of the team liked the idea anyway, especially since the girls soccer team used their money for new jerseys and nicer balls, and they still made it farther in their playoffs than we did almost every year. As it turns out, the coach couldn't figure out how to put the camera together, and we never used it. Biggest waste of $10,000 I've ever seen. $10. 000 goalpost camera. How much of that was a kickback to your coach? Because for 1/10 of that I can buy a GoPro and have a custom made cage to protect it. But I need the absolute best, like the pros use. That's the only way I can become a pro too. My high school wasted a ton of money buying 2 golf carts. Their reasoning was it allowed staff to get to any dangerous scenes faster. Except we never had any accidents and they were mostly used for joyrides by the hall monitors. This seems like a shitty idea regardless. Driving golf carts indoors in a school sounds dangerous. I imagine that it was a school with multiple buildings and outdoor space, but it's funny to imagine them inside tiny hallways. Name tags. Shortly after Columbine and all those other shootings peaked in frequency, it was supposed to keep outsiders from getting in the school unnoticed and shooting everyone, but at the time people doing the shootings were always students, so we joked they were bulletproof. Why not just school IDs? Why name tags? My school had IDs, but we had to wear them on a lanyard so that everyone could see them. Maybe this is what they meant by name tag. I'm a teacher. My first year, the school leader bought a ping pong table for the lounge in an attempt to make school more fun and relaxing. It simply became a surface to put copies on. And yet they don't give y'all nearly enough pay, supplies, resources or support. Seriously, huge hats off to you for teaching our children amidst the difficult circumstances and parameters. Thank you. To be fair, my school pays pretty well and I haven't had issues with supplies or support. Ping pong table just wasn't a great idea, huh? The distance learning has been difficult though because most of our kids are below the poverty threshold. They can access assignments on their phones, but we aren't doing virtual classrooms since most do not have computers at home. My son's current school sent out an email to parents announcing that they'd like to add voice projection to every class. He's in 1st grade and there are 20 kids in his class. Totally unnecessary. They had a demo session and it sounded horrible. My high school got these midway through my junior year, and they sucked. The range wasn't great, and the receiver in one classroom would pick up the microphone in another, and the battery life was awful, so the teachers rarely used it. The best thing that they were used for was the one time that my teacher noticed a kid in the room across the hall was asleep in class. They were watching a video and the other teacher had stepped out of the room for a moment and walked over to the door so that the other room's receiver would pick up his mic, and said wake up and then closed his door. My teacher uses a megaphone because he's the Heath and Pay teacher, so when we misbehave in class he closes the door and plays Baby Shark through the megaphone. 2012 Chromiox that die in like 30 minutes. It's a tragedy when schools try to get tech for their students and basically buy junk because they have no idea what they're doing. And the next time someone brings up doing it right, they just point to it failing last time. We've tried nothing and we're all out of ideas. Trash cans with the school logo on them and banners. They tried hyping us up about new trash cans on the morning show. At my school they took away some of the tables in the cafeteria until we kept it cleaner. We just sat on the floor instead. My elementary school didn't even have tables, we just sat on the floor in the halls. My college bought a small restaurant out for $1 million to build $1 million brick gate that doesn't close. Mine bought out a shopping center, built a dorm with restaurants no one eats at, and now won't let anyone use it. Edit. A lot of people are asking about it, so I found an article. https://www. Norman transcript. Com News Cross Village developers use OU for over million article 6340 F41C 205 D11 EAA011 AB 026 AA113 FA AMP HTML. My school sold off the air rights over id parking garage. They still have the garage. They just sold the area above it. In return got the rights use the cinema in the new building for lectures, and had enough to buy a hotel for dorm and build a shitload of study rooms. Then sold more parking lots out to condo developers and built a few new buildings on other lots with the funds. Also all the private lots have either been sold for condos or eaten up by the hospitals. City lots are going to same. The large schoolyard at my school had a set of planters in the center. They were basically 4 triangles made of brick that pointed in at each other and created an X-shaped walkways between. The outside sides had a bench each attached. People would sit and chat to each other on the benches, teachers and students alike. There was very little litter or vandalism. The plants were kinda pretty insofar as any secondary schooler would care to notice. One year a duck made her nest in one of the planters, and apart from a few "oh hey a duck nest" comments it was left alone. Then for some reason the school decided to rip the planters out. Took them 2/3 of the school year to do it and blocked off the X walkways so everyone had to crush by on the outside lanes between classes. Everyone was super curious as to what the planters would be replaced by. Turns out, nothing. They simply bricked over the holes left by the planters and left it as a huge empty space. We didn't even get new benches, so no one had anywhere to sit during break. People started to miss the plants since the lack of color left the whole area kinda bland. We also kept to the old X walkway since stepping over the former planters felt weird. They spent money to deprive students of something nice. Caring for plants costs money every year. Bricky 9ng it up costs money once. Still a dong move though. They decided all of the glue sticks had to be purple. I guess purple glue does taste as good as purple crayons. I distinctly remember the purple glue sticks smelling better. iPads for the kindergarten. They were intended to have educational apps on them that kids could play on at end or recess. Believe it or not, most kindergartners would rather play on the swings or play with dolls than learn to write their name on an app. No one used them. No one liked them and they all broke within 2 months. HRRMM. My indoor recess at that age was the whole group using these big puzzle piece foam blocks to build castles and then crawl all over them. We would not have cared about the iPad either. My kindergarten. We were on a mission to dig to the bottom of the sandbox. Edit. We took turns and songs. New TVs in the cafeteria that just show the morning announcements. Edit. They already send out emails that have the morning announcements in them. They just need to send out announcements in an email. That's the thing, they already do that. This isn't common knowledge, so I was really the only one incensed by it. But I worked for Cisco Foods as a baker at university, and the upper echelons of the administration had hired their own personal pastry chef to make these extravagant desserts for their meetings. The pastry chef was legit. She made absolutely amazing desserts of a wide variety every day, loaded them onto a cart, and with her baker's outfit and hat on would wheel it up to their daily administration meetings. Her salary was paid for by the students of the school, so that the administrators could dine on first-class pastries and desserts made from scratch each day. She was really good at her job and actually helped me improve in the bakery, but I was so mad her job even existed simply to provide pastries to people who just sat around and decided how the school's money was spent. I obviously didn't make a stink about it to anyone because she was my friend and I wouldn't ever dream of putting her employment at risk. But I couldn't help feeling like her entire career was to make fat cats fatter, and it just boiled my blood. I'm also going to assume, from my time in corporate events planning, that most of the pastries went to waste since even the fattest cat can't eat more than a couple of croissants and most people won't even touch them. Nah, those find their way to someone one way or the other. Put them out. Take them home. Pastries always get got. Laminated ID cards that everyone had to wear around their necks on some dorky ass lanyard. No one ducking did it, so they made it punishable by detention. After that, half the students still didn't do it and the detention hall became so overwhelmed that they began to make backlogs. After a few weeks, not wearing a lanyard gave you a detention 2 months from then. Eventually, detention became so backlogged that students started doing more severe transgressions because they would have graduated before they could actually be forced to go to detention. After about a month, no one had to wear their ID cards at all anymore. They said it was for security purposes, so no one could sneak into the school. The thing is, you could put literally anything in the lanyard, and no one would check if it was your actual student ID card. I had a blank index card in mine and no one ever said anything to me. If someone actually wanted to sneak into the school, all they would need is a lanyard and no one would ever check if it's actually authentic or not. My school did that too. And if you didn't have your card you would have to wait to get lunch until the very end when there was almost no food left. It was the worst. Oh god, my school's administrators learned really quickly not to duck with our lunches. Freshman year they tried to give our class assigned seats because we were too rowdy at lunch and, as a result, someone started a food fight literally every day for about half a semester until they gave up. When I was still a student, my school spent almost $200k to paint the roads outside our school. You read that right. Almost $200. 000 of our precious tuition dollars to paint the roads outside blue and yellow. To pour salt on this painful wound. The paint job didn't even make it through winter. So just to reiterate, $200,000 for 3 months of painted road. I think I'm still angry about it. That's gotta be the dumbest one I've read in here. A lot of them are dumb and that money was spent on technology or other things that wouldn't be used. But those at least keep some value after being bought. This is just throwing money away. My high school purchased a vending machine that only contained Swerve. What is Swerve, you ask? Carbonated milk. Why on God's green earth would someone make that? r/carbonated milk. I'm just as confused and mildly disgusted. Ask the dwellers of this sub. A memorial tree was planted for a girl who was killed right before graduation by her family and friends. The school allowed it and there was a beautiful Japanese maple tree there for like 10 years. Apparently they just cut it down and had no reason why. Family is pissed. Alumni are pissed. Damn it, Wego. Edit. I found the article. She actually died of a rare cancer a year after graduation. https://www.google.com URL q equals https abc7chicago.com/5,352,142 and psi equals u and ved equals 2 iuk uj 6 okbs ohw2 jskis db7 okfg egkahab and usg equals aov vor 2 ben julie kak hvcw0 mlp. A memorial tree was planted for a girl who was killed right before graduation by her family and friends. I misinterpreted that sentence at first. Me too. I thought she was killed by her family. When 65 inches TVs were like $4,000 a pop, they set about 8 of them around campus that just displayed the time. $4,000,00 clocks. Not to mention whatever they used as a video source to send to the display. Not that 4K is a good deal, but you would be shocked at how much even a like 16 inches clock that syncs with the internet atomic radio. Cheap ones exist, but you basically have to take them outside and point them at Colorado to sync. Costs. The price goes up like crazy if you want digits more than an inch or two high, and even more if you want an analog one. Our mascot was a rocket, and a certain percentage of school construction money had to be spent on art. They spent $90,000 commissioning a giant rocket sculpture for the main field entrance. When it was unveiled, the artist had made one tiny change to the design. Instead of a pointy rocket tip, he'd gone with a rounded, mushroom tip. I mean, we thought it was hilarious, especially when they cut off the tip as their solution to the problem. But nobody liked it. They circumcised the rocket? Please post a pic of this. Oh yes, I'm prepared for this answer. My school's mascot was a knight, and it was rumored that the school had the choice of installing a pool at the high school, or to commission a large, think like 25 feet long, metal sculpture of a knight on a horse, and to hang it from the ceiling in the back hallway. They opted for the horse. I was waiting for Ken Hour to pop up on here. Seeing that stupid pile of scrap shoved into the rafters like an afterthought is something I won't miss. That place was ducked and I'm just happy I never have to go back. Especially if Smith is still the VP. Duck that guy. LOL, I left in 2013 and he was there. I think he's still the VP. Duck Smittler. Smartboards. The teachers don't know how to use them. They just don't work that well and a classic blackboard is better to write on. The sound of chalk though. I prefer whiteboards with dry erase markers. The pecking order of lecture writing implements: dry erase boards, chalkboards, giant post-it notes, PowerPoint, distributed to students PowerPoint, not distributed to students he don't know, stone tablets, smoke signals, smartboards. Duck these things. Son's elementary school PTO had an excess of funds. They decided to spend it on a buddy bench. A buddy bench is a bench that you can sit on if you want buddy. I theory it sounds like a decent idea except that it was placed in the hallway near the office and none of the kids wanted to be identified as someone who didn't have a friend. Nobody ever sits on it. If you don't mind me asking, do you live in Ohio? This sounds exactly like a local elementary school. Yes, sound like New Albany, Ohio. There's like 3 of them. Such a waste. An anatomically ambitious statue of our animal mascot. Pick PLS. Look up William and Mary Griffin statue if you're really curious. My first high school wasted money on a war. Maybe I should explain. The school where I spent my freshman and sophomore years had 2 parking lots, one of which was reserved for faculty and guests. The second one, the place where students could park their cars, was near the back of the campus, and although it was larger and arguably more convenient for many reasons, it became the site of a long-running battle. See, on one fateful Monday morning, people arrived to discover that dozens of speed bumps had been attached to the asphalt. That probably would have been fine, except for the fact that the mounds in question were much taller than the standard sort, to the point where even the slowest moving vehicle would end up scraping against them. Complaints from both students and parents were quickly filed with the administration, but the official response was that nothing would be done. Something was done anyway, though. Nobody ever found out who had been responsible. But a few days later, word started to spread that the speed bumps had been removed. As it turned out, someone, or more likely, a group of someones, had ventured out in the middle of the night, hacked the offending humps from the parking lot, and returned the space to its original state. Needless to say, this didn't sit well with the people in charge of the school, and they wasted no time in taking action. By which I mean that they paid to have new obstacles, which were still too tall, installed. Another removal happened after that. Another reconstruction followed, along with the hiring of a dedicated security guard. To the best of my knowledge, that was when the war finally ended. The ceasefire may have come about because the latest speed bumps were finally short enough to actually get over, but my guess is that the vigilante vandals just gave up. Either way, I'm fairly sure that I wound up experiencing the one moment in history that saw someone being hired for the express purpose of protecting speed bumps. TL. Doctor. In a war between students and administrators, it's the speed bumps that suffer. I need to find jobs like this where people get paid to do dumb shit like guard speed bumps. I absolutely understand them installing speed bumps. Kids with their first car are idiots. However, if you make them too tall like they did, it's ignorant and yes more annoying than useful. TVs. Like just random TVs in the hallway that showed slideshows and shit. Tens of thousands of dollars when we could have just put up bulletin boards. My school has loads of TVs that I don't recall ever see turned on. My school buys so much useless things, or at least when I went to, they dump all their money on the football team. Obviously the football team doesn't really care, but other people did. One thing that everyone has a common hatred for that the school bought, even the football team, is the inflatable the school got. From what I heard it costed about $4K. It's this big ass inflatable that people could walk through. The inflatable has the school's mascot on it and it's just plain weird. There were so many ways the school could have spent that money on, but they choose to spend it on stupid inflatable that is only used like 3 times a year. Guess inflation screwed over their finances. Yeah, there wasn't much interest in it anyway. Our high school was way too into our football team. One year they decided to replace our grass football field with a turf one. IDKY. But even the football players would tell me we had the best grass field in the area. I don't know why they replaced it. You know when high school football players say the school is spending too much money on them, something is wrong. Turf is an upfront cost, but it's a lot cheaper to maintain over the long term. The typical football player can also run a bit faster on turf, or so I heard. They also don't get muddy and torn up when it rains, or turn into dirt when it doesn't rain. i7 workstation laptops with Quadro GPUs, easily $2,500 plus each, for an elementary, K6, school. Those machines were designed for CAD work and media production, but were instead solely used for web browsing and Microsoft Word. I don't have any idea why they bought them. Likely bought with grant money that had to be 100% spent. I knew a guy who hopped between schools getting them all kind of out of the woodwork grants. He would buy tons of tech and hire us to install it. There are some small schools that are loaded with nice tech. It was really coolimo. Whenever I was in high school, my senior year, they decided to make technology improvements. So, they swapped a lot of old textbooks for iPads. They placed unnecessary TVs in the hallways. Waste of money. I don't understand the whole TV fixation thing. My science classroom in high school had a massive flat screen television which we rarely used for anything. Halfway through the year they took it out and put in an even bigger flat screen television that we never used for anything. Yep, the TVs in the hallways were never used. LOL. Maybe once or twice for like pep rally, but that's about it. They cut out welding, machine shop, wood shop, and graphic design to buy a $1M scoreboard for football. A scoreboard? Seriously? And I thought my school making an entire sports hall only for football teams was stupid. Random TVs playing school propaganda by the dining hall. Yes, we have like 5 flat screens, 2 in each cafeteria, and 1 in the F lobby. Nobody ever looks at them and they have slideshows going 24/7 saying be kind or whatever. A poster would suffice. And you can barely see the stuff on the TV anyway because it's so high up. They bought a bunch of laptops for a magnet program. They were the worst laptops. My friend also didn't help by adjusting the battery settings to read critical at 98% and shut down. Epic. The school had a dual raffle in which the person would win a bunch of money via gift cards, and to enter they had to give up their vape pens. It worked as well as you'd expect it to. And if you won and didn't duel, I'm guessing you had to go out and buy one so you had something to turn in? No, you had to turn in your duel, and then you'd get a ticket. Which was funny, cause some kids started selling broken jewels to people who didn't want to turn theirs in or just straight up didn't have a jewel, but still wanted to enter. A clock tower with no clock. So a tower? Got to have some place to set up a defensible sniping position. Same as most schools I suppose. Football field BS. When basically every other sport in the school is more successful than the football team. My school wasn't even a football school and they gave the football team everything. Our science team was entirely funded by donations from parents. We got second in the state division and no recognition from the school leadership. The teacher coaching it admitted after graduation that he thanked God we didn't win state, because there's no way we could have afforded to go to nationals and he didn't want us to be disappointed in the system. My high school did the same. Sports wise we were one of the worst in the entire state. They threw everything they could at it. New gym, expensive equipment, even hired an ex-college coach as a teacher so he could coach our football team. Awful history teacher as well. Guys was a complete idiot, bordering on senile. At the same time our arts programs, music and theater primarily, were winning national competitions while being cut left and right. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.